Good day, everyone. My name is April C.S. Dedwan, and I'm here to discuss to you the types of terrorism, which is the cyber terrorism, bioterrorism, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear terrorism, or CBRN, and narcoterrorism, and the last is eco-terrorism. First is what is terrorism? So terrorism is the use or threat of violence against people or property, usually to achieve political, religious, or social goals. It is means to create fear, pressure, or group of government to act in a certain way or send a message. For example, a group of people sets off a small explosion inside a busy bus terminal during rush hour. They do this to hurt people and make everyone afraid to travel. And afterward, they send a message to the government saying they will keep doing such acts unless the government changes a certain law or policy they disagree with. So let's proceed now to the cyber terrorism. Cyberterrorism is the use of digital attacks against critical infrastructure, government system, or financial network to cause fear, disruption, or damage. So, cyberterrorism, it refers to using digital attacks like hacking or computer viruses. It is against important systems just like power, water, government, banks to create fear, disrupt services, or cause damage. It targets technology instead of physical places or people directly. Example nito is hackers shutting down a country's electricity grid or disrupting online banking system to force the government to meet their demands. So next is bioterrorism. Bioterrorism is the deliberately release of biological agents, just like bacteria, viruses, toxin, to harm or kill people, animals, or crops. Intentionally releasing harmful living things or substances such as bacteria, viruses, or poisons to sicken or kill people, animals, or crops. It uses nature-based agents as a weapon. Example nito is secretly spreading a disease causing germs in a crowded area or contaminating food water supplies to cause illness and panic. So, let's proceed to CBRN, or chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear terrorism. So it involves use of weapons of mass destruction. So chemical terrorism. Chemical terrorism, it is the poisonous gases or liquids. So example nito is sarin. Sarin is highly dangerous man-made chemical. It is classified as a nerve agent. So pag sinabi nating nerve agent, yung poison na yun is ang inaatake niya the most is yung nervous system ng mga tao para ma-paralyze. So yun yung ginagamit nila para mas effective. Biological terrorism, which is it is harmful germs or toxin. So example nito, intentionally spreading a harmful bacteria or virus such as anthrax through letters or contaminating food water supply to make people sick. So next is biological terrorism. It is harmful germs or toxins. So example nito is intentionally spreading a harmful bacteria or virus such as anthrax, though letters or contaminating food water supplies to make people sick. So, mas tinatarget nila ang mga tubig ng mga tao para mas madali sa kanila para mag-terrorize. And radiological terrorism. Radiological terrorism is devices like dirty bombs that spreading dangerous radiation. So example nito is using a dirty bomb, a regular bomb mixed with radioactive material and detonating it in a city, spreading radiation and making the area unsafe to live in for a long time. Next is nuclear. So nuclear power weapons that cause massive destruction and radiation. So example nito is using or threatening to use a nuclear weapon like an atomic bomb which causes huge destruction, widespread death, and long-term radiation damage to a large area. So next is narco-terrorism. So narco-terrorism is interaction of drug trafficking and terrorism. Terrorist groups use a drug profits to fund the operation. Drug cartels use terrorist tactics to intimidate authorities and communities. So example nito is this happens when drug trafficking and terrorism mix. And terrorist groups earn money from selling illegal drugs to fund their activities. Also, drug gangs use violent or intimidating tactics like those used by terrorists to fight authorities or control communities. And the next example is a rebel group making money by producing and selling drugs, then using that money to buy weapons and carry out attacks. And last is ecoterrorism. So ecoterrorism is the use of violence and sabotage or destruction against environmental resources, industries or properties or threats to do so, to advance environment conversation or anti-development ideologies or to cause public fear and economic disruption. So this is it is So, it is the use of violence, damage, or threats targeting industries, businesses, or resources to promote environmental beliefs, protest, development, or create fear and economic loss. It is done in the name of protecting nature. So, next explanation is damaging equipment at a logging site, setting fire to a factory seen as polluting, or threatening companies to stop certain projects. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, good morning everyone, especially to you ma'am, good morning. Our report for today is all about tactics of terrorism. So what is tactic terrorism? Understanding terrorist tactics helps officers recognize, prevent, and respond to attacks. Tactics are grouped into four categories. What is these four categories? We have trauma tactics, direct violence, covert tactics, hidden operations, coordinated tactics, and multi-point attacks. And the exploitative tactics using vulnerabilities. Sabi dito, ang tactics of terrorism ay iba't ibang paraan na ginagamit ng mga terorista para magsagawa ng pag-atake. Mahalaga itong pag-aralan para mas madaling makilalang mapigilan at marespondihan ang mga otoridad ng mga posibleng banta o insidente. We have the four trauma tactics, direct violation, we have the bombing ideas, car bombs, suicide, most commonly used tactic globally. So, ginagamit ito paggamit ng bomba para magdulot ng malaking pinsala, takot sa maraming tao. Next is shooting arm assault. Dito naman ay sinasagawang pag-atake gamit ang baril laban sa target o mga tao. The next one is the storming and rapid assault. Ito naman ay ang isang biglaang paglusob o pagsugod ng mga armado grupo sa building o lugar para kontrolin ito. The next is the drive-by attacks. Ito naman ay pamamaril habang nasa sasakyan para mabilis ang pagtakas o pagkatapos umatake. Parang yung naibalita ng class na binaril nila habang yung riding tandem. Ganon. Next is unarmed assault, vehicle ramming, stabbing attacks. Dito naman ay pag-atake kahit walang baril tulad ng pananaksak, pagbangga gamit ang sasakyan. Kung naalala nyo yung binangga yung tao, may balita yun eh. Yun, namatay, ganun. Parang ganun yun. Next is the covert tactics, hidden operations. Ito naman ay pagtago ng pagsabog sa mga bagay, lugar o para di agad mapansin. Parang sa Kwan class, dito sa may Santiago, sa may palengke. Minsan may nagkuhan daw dyan eh. May nagtatanim ng bumba kaya minsan natatakot yung mga tao na mamalingke. Yun. Next is the ambush. Ito naman ay yung surprise attacks on military, police or civilian. Biglang pag-atake sa tao o grupo na hindi handa. Alam niyo naman siguro kung anong ibig sabihin ng ambush, di ba? Next is the disguise and infiltration. Sabi dito, pagpanggap o pagpasok ng isang grupo o komunidad para magkuha ng impormasyon. Halimbawa, ito sa boarding, gabi is mayroong pumunta dito na para magkalap lang ng balita. Ganun, parang kan ba? Next is the coordinated tactics, multi-points attacks. Simulation news, attacks on multiple targets to overwhelm law enforcement's response. Dito naman ang sabay-sabay na pag-atake sa iba't ibang lugar para mahirap ang responders. Mahirapan. Kagaya nito class, halimbawa mayroong nagguguluhan dito sa Rosario, tapos mayroon din sa Rizal, mayroon din sa Dubinan. O di siyempre mahirapan yung mga responde dyan na kung saan sila pupunta. The next is the design to maxim casualties, confusion, and media coverage. Dito naman ginagamit ito para mas maraming maapektuhan at mas lumaki ang takot at balita. Dito naman is yung fake news, kinakalat nila yung fake news para daw matakot o para mas marami maapektuhan. Yun. Requires advanced planning, communication, and logistic. Dito naman, kailangan ng maayos na plano, komunikasyon, at paghahanda bago gawin ng operasyon. Siyempre, alam naman punta ka sa isang operasyon, hindi ka naman handa. Alam, nakikigera ka, wala kang bala. Next is the exploitative tactics using vulnerabilities. First one is the recruitment of foreign fighters. Ito naman class is yung pagkuha nila ng tao sa iba't ibang bansa para sumali sa laban o operasyon, para hindi lang naman tayo yung lumalaban. Next is use of women and children as operative suicide bombers or human shells. Dito naman ay ginagamit ang mga kababaihan at kabataan bilang bahagi ng operasyon dahil minsan hindi sila agad napaghihinalaan. O nga naman class, kapag gumamit ka ng bata sa mga diba, sa mga bombing ganun, hindi mo talaga halata na gagawa sila ng krimen. Next is the extortion. Ito naman is forcing communities or business to pay revolutionary taxes. Dito naman ay sa pilitang pangungulikta ng pera sa tao, negosyo gamit ang pananakot. Halimbawa, maniningil sila ng tax na may konting pananakot. Halimbawa, hindi ka magbibigay, tunugin namin itong pwesto mo. Next is the corruption in penetrating government and law enforcement agencies. Sabi dito, pagbibigay ng pagtanggap ng suhol para makalusot o makakuha ng impormasyon. Karamihan to sa Pilipinas, ganito lahat. Pagbibigay ng pagtanggap nila ng mga suhol para lang makapasok. Mga kapit. Next is money laundering. Counseling terrorists, financing through legitimate business. Dito naman ipagtanggap ng illegal na pera magmukhang legal sa pinanggalingan ito. Dito naman is illegal yung ginagawa nila, kaya lang magaling silang magtago. Kaya hindi halatang illegal. Halimbawa nito is yung mga ano ba yung mga illegal na pera. Basta yun. Next is cyber attacks. Ito naman is targeting digital infrastructure and spreading propaganda. Dito naman is yung pag-atake gamit ang internet o computer para sirain ang system o magkalat ng propaganda. Dito naman class is magagamit naman dito yung mga anong pangalan nito? Hacker para sirain ang sistema para magkalat ng propaganda. Halimbawa si Duterte ay si BBM, di ba mayroong mga nagkakalat na mga video na nagdadrug siya, ganun, pero hindi naman totoo. Yun yung mga ginagamit nila, class. Yun lang, class. Maraming salamat. Bye-bye.
Good day everyone, my name is John Reyes de los Santos. Today I will discussing hostage management and negotiation techniques. So first, what is hostage situation? A crisis where people are held against their will by armed or dangerous individual who intend harm. It is complex and risky. So ang hostage situation, ito yung crisis na nag-hold sila ng mga tao para makuha nila yung mga gusto nila. For example, may nang hold up sa bangko, tapos may mga dumating agad na mga pulis at nasa loob pa sila. Ginagawa nilang hostage yung mga tao para hindi sila basta-basta pasukin ng mga pulis, para hindi sila agad maaresto. Kaya hinohold nila yung mga tao para maging hostage nila. At sinabi rin dito na it is complex and risky. Syempre risky yun kasi isang pagkakamali lang ng mga pulis, pwedeng madamay yung mga hostage nila, pwede silang mapatay or masaktan. Less than 20% are solved through force. Negotiation has 95% success rate with fewer deaths. So ibig sabihin nito, mas maganda yung nakikipag-negotiate muna para mas safe yung mga hostage nila. Mas mataas din yung successful rate nila compared dun sa true force. Sa negotiation, maabot siya ng 95% yung success rate nila. Sa sa true force naman is 20% lang. So talagang mas risky yung true force, kaya mas maganda pa rin yung negotiation muna. Next is the 3 most dangerous moment in hostage crisis. Number 1, first 15 to 45 minutes. Confusion and panic, highest mistake often leads to harm. Ibig sabihin, sa 15 to 45 minutes is meron pang nako-confuse at nagpapanik. For example, sa mga nag-rob sa bank, nako-confuse yung mga hostage nila at saka syempre nagpapanik pa yung mga hostage taker. Kaya once na magkamali, posibleng may masaktan agad. Number 2, during surrender, strong emotion, hesitation, sudden move can turn fatal. Ito naman yung kapag sumusuko na yung mga hostage taker. Hindi porket ibig sabihin sumusuko na sila is okay na yung lahat. Syempre pwede pang magbago yung isip ng mga hostage taker. Pwede pa silang makasakit. Number 3 is tactical assault. Highest risk of casualties, only use as last option. Ito naman yung kapag sinugod na nila yung mga hostage takers, ito yung hindi na makuha sa negotiation. For example, yung nangyari sa Manila noon, yung bus na hinostage ng isang dating pulis, hindi na nila ma-control yung hostage taker, kaya wala na silang choice kundi pasukin na yung yung hostage taker. Pero sa pagsugod na nila yon, syempre madaming nadamay na mga hostage, kaya ginagamit lang ito as last option kasi madaming pwedeng madamay.
Good day everyone, I am Zairine Candido and I will discuss the criminal hostage situations, which happens when offenders hold people against their will in order to achieve a criminal objective or escape from authorities. These situations commonly occur during crimes such as robbery, ransom, kidnapping, or jail escape. The hostage is usually used as a shield, bargaining tool, or means of pressure against law enforcement. The main motive of criminals in this situation is practical demand. They may ask for money, a vehicle, weapons, or a safe escape route. Unlike emotional or political hostage situations, criminal hostage incidents are usually focused on survival and avoiding arrest. One important feature of criminal hostage situation is that the hostages are often strangers to the offender. Because of this, the criminal is usually more predictable and easier to negotiate with. In handling these situations, authorities use negotiation strategies. Negotiator may provide the offender's basic needs such as food, water, or communication. This in exchange from the gradual release of hostages or surrender. Ang criminal hostage situation, ito daw po ay nangyayari kapag may criminal ng hostage o kumukuha ng hostage nila para makatakas o makuha ang gusto nila. Nakaraniwang nangyayari sa robbery, kidnapping o pagtakas sa kulungan. Kadalasan, ang gusto daw ng mga ito ay pera, sasakyan o ligtas na daan para makatakas. Ang example nito is, for example, kapag may mga hold-upper sa bangko na ginawang hostage yung ang mga empleyado at humihingi ng gateway vehicle para makatakas. Then, another example nito is sa convenience store. Kunyari, may mga armadong kriminal na ng hostage doon at ng hold-up. Tapos, hindi sila agad makakatakas dahil napalibutan yung ang tawag dun? Convenience store ng mga pulis. Then, ang gagawin nila, i-hostage nila yung cashier or yung mga customer doon. Pagkatapos, hihingi sila ng sasakyan at ligtas na daan kapalit ng pagpapalaya nila sa mga hostage nila. Then, next, number 2, personal domestic hostage situation. A personal or domestic hostage situation happens when a person holds someone hostage because of family, emotional, or relationships conflict. In this type of incident, the hostage is usually someone known to the offender, such as a spouse, child, relative, friend, or coworker. These situations are often connected to separation problems, jealousy, misunderstandings, or personal disputes. Unlike criminal hostage situations that focus on money or escape, personal domestic hostage situations are highly emotional. The offender may act out of anger, frustration, depression, or emotional pain. Because emotions are involved, the situations becomes more unpredictable and dangerous. In some cases, the hostage taker may threaten violence, harm other, or even attempt suicide. Ang personal domestic hostage situation naman daw po is ito naman yung nangyayari dahil sa problema sa pamilya, relationship, o personal na alitan. Sa ganitong sitwasyon, kadalasan kakilala ng hostage taker ang hostage nila. For example, ay asawa, anak, at kamag-anak o coworker nila. Mas emosyonal at mas delikado daw ito dahil maaaring galit, selos o sobrang nasasaktan ang hostage taker. At dahil dito, nagiging hindi predictable ang kanilang kilos at minsan ay nagbabanta silang manakit o magpakamatay. Dahil nga doon, gumagamit ang mga pulis at negotiator ng mahinahong pakikipag-usap para pakalmahin ang suspect at maiwasan ang pananakit nito. Ang sample nito is kapag may mag-asawang nag-aaway at hinostage ng lalaki yung asawa niya or pamilya niya dahil sa problema sa relasyon. And another example nito is kung may isang lalaking sobrang galit dahil sa hiwalayan nila ng partner niya. At dahil hindi niya matanggap yung hiwalayan nila, ikukulong niya yung babae, ikukulong niya yung asawa niya and yung anak niya, at pagbabantaan niyang sasaktan yung mga yon kapag hindi siya kinausap. Sa ganitong sitwasyon, mahinahong nakikipag-usap ang mga negotiator para pakalmahin siya at may ligtas ang pamilya niya. Yan lang po. Thank you.
Good morning everyone. My name is Doligon Kevines, Group 7. Ang report ko ngayon ay Political Motivate Hostage Situation. Ito yung mga nangyayari kapag may taong grupo na hostage dahil sa kanilang paniniwala, political o layunin sa gobyerno. Kadalasan, ito ay konektado sa terorismo, rebellion o mga grupong gustong mapansin ang kanilang ipinaglalaban. Hindi pera ang pangunahing dahilan nila, kundi gusto nilang pilitin ang gobyerno o publiko na sundin ang kanilang demands, humingi ng pagpapalaya sa kanilang kasamaan, pagbabago sa batas o pagpapakita ng suporta sa kanilang grupo. Karaniwan din planado ang ganitong sitwasyon at ginagawa sa mga matataong lugar tulad ng buildings para makakuha ng atensyon ng media at publiko. Sa paghawak ng ganitong sitwasyon, maingat na nakikipag-usap ang mga pulis para maprotektahan ng mga hostage at maiwasan ang karahasan, at pangunahing goal ay matapos ang insidente ng mapayapa at ligtas. Then number 4, barricade situation. Ito naman ang nangyayari kapag may isang tao na nakukulong o nagtatago sa isang lugar at ayaw lumabas pero wala siyang hostage. Nahati ito sa dalawang uri: barricaded suspect at barricaded subject. Ang barricaded suspect ay isang taong gumagawa ng krimen at nagtatago sa isang bahay o lugar para makaiwas sa pag-aresto. Ang goal niya ay makatakas o hindi mahuli ng mga pulis. Wala siyang hostage pero nananatili siya sa protektadong lugar. Sa ganitong sitwasyon, mainahon na nakikipag-usap ang mga pulis habang sinisiguradong kontrolado at ligtas ang paligid. Halimbawa, ito ay kapag may suspect sa robbery na nagtago sa loob ng bahay, pagkatapos ng krimen ay ayaw sumuko. Samantala, ang barricaded subject naman ay hindi palaging may kinalaman sa krimen. Madalas itong nangyayari dahil sa matinding problema at sa emosyon at mental health. Maaaring nakakulong lang ang tao sa kwarto o sa bahay dahil sa stress o depression o emotional, tapos break it down yo, at minsan ay nagbabanta pag nasaktan ang sarili. Sa paghawak nito, gumagamit ang mga negotiator ng mainahon at suportibong paraan para pakalmahin ang mga tao at maiwasan ang pananakit sa sarili o sa iba. Halimbawa, ito ay isang taong may matinding problema sa pag-iisip. Example, Jessel Boy Agustin, na nagkulong sa kwarto at nagbabanta na sasaktan ang kanyang sarili.